mummy's curse.
I thought you wanted to be Gidra.
Next time. Here we are at the beautiful Philadelphia Academy of Music.
But what surrounds us is not real marble.
Nope.
It's painted marble, or faux marble, as it's come to be called.
And Marbleization goes back to Roman times.
Oh, it goes back further than that, Ed.
Further?
It goes back to Mycenaean times.
You mean like three blind Mycenaean?
That's right. Now, the Romans did use marbleizing. They employed it when doing columns. They would use colored plasters into which they would set their graining. And they would use it also in places where it would be near to impossible to get real marble up and into, like a vome or
You mean a domed or
vaulted ceiling, right.
But what you see around you here is a beautiful restoration project done on a 19th century marbleization. The Philadelphia Academy of Music, built in 1857.
That's right. And 130 years later, 7 to 11 coats of paint, they decided to restore it, and the actual restoration was done in the summers of '85 and '86. It was beautiful.
Around the Academy, you'll be able to see the original marbleization in places covered by panels made of lucite.
I love lucite.
Ricky!
Now, what's the lucite for? Well, the actual workmen who did the restoration, they had to match the exact color and sinuous grain markings, because this is an historical building, so the restoration had to be perfect.
Yeah, and this is an example of what you two can do if you have a concert hall or an opera house and 2 summers to work.
But if you have an ugly piece of furniture in your garage, a lonely fawn sitting there, weathered, you want to transform it, we can show you how to do marbleizing, and we're going to get to that next. So let's get back to the shop.
Come on. Come this way.
No, this way.
No, this way.
The door's over here.
No, it's over
here. The door's
here.
over
This
here.
way.
The door's over here.
Furniture on the Mend will return on TLC. Furniture on the Mend now returns on TLC.
And now we're ready to execute our piece.
It looks like it's been executed.
It's been executed already. I took it apart.
Take it apart.
This is what we got from Sam the Junk Man, if you remember that exciting episode last week.
Very good buy.
Yeah, for $3. And I took it apart because it's a lot easier to work with apart. You have 3 separate canvases, so to speak.
So you can execute a beautiful picture.
On each one.
On each one.
Because each marbled panel will have a different sinuous
I like the way you put things. Yes. Come on, let's go.
So, okay. So what we're going to use first is we're going to use this electric paint remover here. Now, this is the prototype to the modern-day heat gun. It's got a filament in it that heats up to about 900 degrees. With that, I'm going to use a scraper that I will use to scrape the paint. With this, you'll be able to scrape a wide surface area of paint. And I'm using this purposely because last time we showed you how to use the chemical remover. This is going to get the paint off in half the time, and it's also going to save you money on remover.
And you apartment dwellers, you can use it to toast bread.
Yes, 1 or 2 pieces, or a large piece of rye. Here's a chisel that I'm going to use to scrape the edges off, and a wire brush that I'm going to use in conjunction with the paste remover. After the paint's off, I'm going to apply some paint remover to remove the lacquer undercoating that was on here originally.
This is, what kind of wood is this?
This is maple.
Maple.
And we'll see the maple once we remove the paint.
So do you see all these little spots?
Yeah.
There's 4,742 spots on that.
Oh, yeah?
You gotta strip it.
Well, we gotta strip it.
Strip it.
Gotta be stripped. Gotta be stripped.
Gotta strip it.
Gotta be stripped.
Strip it.
Okay.
Let's go.
And once it's stripped, we're gonna sand it down, and then we're gonna apply a primer of flat black paint, because the marble that I'm going to try to achieve is a green, white, and black serpentine marble. It's going to be very pretty.
So that's on the flag of Kenya, I think.
Mm-hmm. Can you shut up? Okay, so we're ready to go. Here is the EPR. It's very hot right now.
EPR, I took a course in that. I can save people now.
I knew you were going to say that. If you would, please, remove that, because I don't want it near the heat.
Remove the remover?
Remove that remover. Now, the trick is with this is you want to hold it over the painted surface. You'll see smoke appearing. Make sure you wear a respirator when you do this, because you don't want to breathe in the smoke.
Not the dust mask.
Can you see it? Can you see it bubbling there?
The respirator.
Now, once you get good at this, you can remove at least 5 coats of paint at once, holding the scraper. Let's see. It's coming. A little bit more.
Just rest it right on there.
Oh, now it's beautiful. Now we got it.
Amazing.
It's coming. It'll take you a while to get used to this and to sustain a rhythm.
Well, if this show doesn't go, it's jeopardy for me.
Can you see this coming off?
Of course we can.
Okay.
I can see it.
Good. Just wanted to make sure everybody was able. And it catches fire.
A little bit of flame
Goes out a little bit.
is no problem.
But that's the general idea. Okay, we got that out of the way. Now I'm going to, this edge here, I'm going to scrape with the side of this chisel. Chisels all have a very, even though it feels blunt, it's very hard metal. And it can be used as a scraper, as you can see. Because it is a narrow, flat surface, you can get away with doing this. Now I'm going to do one of these pilasters.
I got pilastered last night.
Which is the back of the piece, of course. And since I'm
columns.
scraping the edge, I'll scrape the edge on these.
Scrape that edge. Keep your respirator on even though you're not burning it off. Because there's little paint chips in the air.
Unfortunately, we can't talk to you. I wanted to do a whole show with subtitles wearing masks, but they said we can't do that.
They say when we go into foreign markets, we can do that.
Yeah. I'm going to use a wire brush with this.
Why a brush?
Why a brush? Why not a chicken?
Go.
Because you can't get a scraping implement in there.
That joke is carbon dated, my friends.
Yes. The paint will easily be scraped off. And it is maple, so it's a strong wood. It's not going to be damaged by the wiring.
But what about the wiring on this old piece?
And it's going to be sanded anyway. What? What wire?
What? What?
You keep asking me questions. You know, I never bother you when you're on.
But I'm just being a surrogate for these people out there.
Please. I have to concentrate. I'm perspirating.
I know. You need a cup. A little cup dangling from your chin.
You stole that now. That's a blatant steal. So you just stand there like that.
I'm covering the label.
Okay, you can do that.
I like to feel needed.
I'm going to put this paste remover.
Protect any table that you might have this on with a tarp.
Now,
Protect your hands.
I'm going to have to pick this up, so on go the gloves.
Big gloves.
These are from the last show, remember? Acid gloves.
They look like they're from the last century.
I'll just paint a little on the sides.
This is going to get any residue
This will pull everything off.
out of the grain.
So there's one. Put it in the oven. Now, when you're using remover and you start scraping with the brush, and that paint that's on there is coming up, as you can see,
Tempura batter.
you know that you're ready
For stripping.
for stripping.
It's moving
As
around.
we are doing, see?
Everything's going away.
It's actually the ferrule of the brush here, that's metal, that I'm using in conjunction with the bristles of this cheap, inexpensive throwaway brush. Mentioned the cooking show earlier. Give me the casserole pan, will you? You remember these, don't you?
What are you going to do?
Planer chips?
What are you going to make?
Look, I'm going to make something very familiar looking in the kitchen called a big cutlet. Remember? Planer chips, scrubbing with the chips around all surfaces.
And it smells good, too.
Remember, the chips aren't abrasive because they are wood. And we are lucky that this wood is maple. That's what it is, if I hadn't mentioned it. Did I mention it was maple?
Yes, it's maple.
Yeah. And maple's a very tough,
Hard
durable, hard wood, very close-grained, and excellent for marbleizing.
This has got sort of a deco look to it, this piece.
Yeah. Now, another good reason for
A lot of maple.
For
in deco.
marbleizing a piece, especially this one, if you can see these black marks, these are stains.
Wow.
That's a stain, this is a stain. And
Wow, he feigns interest.
yeah, so you would either have to resurface this board in order to get that stain out, or you can do a painted finish, which vis-a-vis the marbleizing.
Remember, get the planer chips from a lumber yard, any friends you might have who have a wood shop. If you take a big trash bag to a lumber yard and say, can I fill this up with planer chips? They'll look at you like you're crazy and say, sure. Or they'll say, hey, I watched that show too. Give me $10 for this.
That's
then
right.
go to the next lumber yard.
We have our little bucket into which we will pour the denatured alcohol. If you're working on a piece this small, try and put your solvent into the bucket That way, whatever falls is going to fall into the bucket, not all over your floor or your grass, which you don't want to do.
Use the respirator again, unless you want to relive the Pink Floyd concert of your choice. What's next?
We're ready to sand and then put our primer on. Remember, white primer for the pilasters and black for the shelves. I'm using a 220 garnet paper. Now these areas right here, which is in fact the top of the pilaster, centerpiece, and the bottom piece.
Awesome.
These are going to be glued when it's all completed. And I want to put tape over those, but I'm going to sand them first. The reason for the tape
is so that the glue does not settle to the tape.
So I'll do those first.
What?
The glue settles to the
tape?
No, so that the glue adheres to the wood.
Rather than to the paint.
Right, which
I got it.
would then not bond.
Bond, not bond.
Oh, these two blocks, what are they doing there? Well, it's just to elevate the piece. When I put the primer on, so that I'm not putting paint on the table, this very nice, clean table. As I put the tape there, you want to try and stay away from that as much as possible.
Black as midnight.
Now we do the white.
I'm glad I could help.
With the mighty white. These have all been stirred already, and they're both oil-based.
Always shake up your cans. We have a can shaker in the shop, but you just might want to do the boom chicka boom around your living room for about a half hour.
Or ask the nice man, or the unfriendly man at the hardware store or paint store.
Most of the time unfriendly.
To shake it.
Now you're more...
I go to a hardware store and I say, you don't have to shake those mixed colors because I have a paint mixer, and he says, I shake everything.
I'll do it anyway.
Well, next week we're going to be marbleizing and varnishing. That's going to be really exciting.
That's the true drama. You'll be very impressed, honestly.
Furniture on the Mend will return on TLC. Furniture on the Mend now returns on TLC.
Hey, it's back to my favorite part, the upholstery segment.
Not my favorite part, but it is interesting. You have to agree.
We've done the springs, we've done the webbing, we've done padding on the seat, and we've put down our seat material. It's all nice and tight. Next step, inside back. This is probably going to be the most complex part. When you take something apart, you're going to have to figure out what the first-time person, or even the person who did it the second or third time, did and how they did it.
How did they do it?
Well, when we took the inside back apart, we found this metal ring that went in a circle and that was tied in. It was actually tacked and tied with yarn, with hemp twine, into the inside parts of these arms. Right, just like that. Now, when we took it out, we found the level.
You remember the line here?
Yeah, the level where it actually was, and we made a pencil mark. We're going to try and put that in. Why do we need a ring here? Well, because when the inside back comes down and is attached, the actual piece of fabric, it's going to come down over this and hook under this part of the ring and then get attached to the frame.
Right.
That's what's going to keep it from moving forward, because really there's no place for it to attach over here. So that's the way they did it. We're going to use these things. And these are called hog rings or U-nails, or perhaps even...
wickets.
Yeah, croquet wickets for the people of Lilliput. And we're going to bang these in, 2 across the top and 2 all the way down the side.
Level or parallel to that
line.
line.
To that line. I'm going to use a framing hammer.
And I'm going to use a wonderful board.
Wrapped
with burlap so I don't damage, because I have to push down on this fabric so that he can get that nail down to the level.
I'm going to put it right about here.
Okay, now you...
And I'm going to back this with my knee so I can hurt myself. No, so that it doesn't give. Tap it in. These are quite sharp. Ooh, it looks good already.
First get a tack.
A sharp tack. I'm going to put in a second one. Here we go. Now it's going in. Now it's tied in at the bottom with the metal wire, tacked in with those little wickets side to side.
Look.
See, there's tension. And now we're going to pull this, and just like everything else, we're going to start tacking in the center.
What is this?
What is this? It's some kind of fuzzy muslin.
It's a fuzzy muslin.
It's a fuzzy muslin.
Okay.
I'm
going to hold this tight at the bottom.
There's a comedy concept in there. We haven't time to excavate.
Just go. You had to put that line in somewhere, didn't you?
Because I wrote it.
It stinks, too.
All right, where am I going to tack? I'm going to tack to the front facing of this. If you can look closely, this is where they tacked in the last piece that was like this. Not to the back, but to the front. Now, what does this say? I don't know. What does it mean?
It was underneath somebody's name.
Somebody, Kilroy.
George Washington something.
George Washington reclined here. Okay. I have my friend.
With a finger.
My friend with the finger. Right down here. Put a tack in there. It's nice and secure. And just like everything else, I'm going to work from the center out, but I'm going to split the difference and try and get out as many wrinkles as I can, because this is the backing that everything else has to go on, and I want it to have a nice soft curve. Keep pulling that.
We're going to have foam over top of this.
Yeah.
And under this wire.
Okay. And now I'm going to... take it away. I'm getting my curve. I'm establishing my curve.
You have established your curve.
My curvature. See, we need to bang these in and make them very, very flush, because we don't want any bumps.
No bumps, unless you want to go out and buy an air compressor.
Now we're going to, as we said, just like with the burlap and with the webbing, we're going to fold it over and put in another row of tacks right there. But look, the curve is too tight, so I must make the snoop.
Or snip.
In order for this to come down. Fold it down like so. And get the staple gun once again. Start up from there. Got to make a nice deep snoop. All this will be trimmed off as excess. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Waiting.
You're going to wait. You're waiting.
Waiting for my part.
Waiting for your part.
It's like waiting for Godot.
Oh, this is the interesting part.
Yeah, I've been dying to see this part.
Scissor work. We're using foam now. Why? Because we have to build the back out. We have to build the back out to make it nice and padded and full before we add the cotton and the fabric. Sometimes you don't have to use foam. Sometimes you have to use 2-inch foam. Sometimes you have to use 1-inch foam. Can anybody guess what this is? It's 1-inch foam.
Now you got it right.
We're using 1-inch foam. Now, first we're going to tack in at the front panels over here, and then establish our curve.
We're also going to tack a 1/2 inch in from the wood, right?
I was going to get to that.
Okay, well, I'm just, you know, we're playing off of each other.
Yeah, I like to play golf off of you.
Yeah.
All right. Pulling it around. Now I'm going to have to...
Dandruff. Clouds of dandruff.
We have a lot of fun on this show. We're going to have to obviously trim it a lot, but I'm just going to put this up and lap it right, so at least I won't have to trim here. So we put a staple in there. I'm just going to put about 4 staples over here, and this is to hold it. I want it right up to the edge. Like so. Okay, now around to the other side.
Around to the other side.
Now we're going to pull this around just to establish that curve and do the same thing over here.
And then this will be tucked underneath.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, I'm sure they're anticipating what's coming next.
I'm sure everybody in America is sitting on the edge of their seat and saying, where's that remote control box?
Saying, where's that fishing show?
Next, as my large partner has said, we are going to pull this underneath. Remember, we have the metal wire under here.
Look at what niceties.
We're establishing a lovely roll. Gosh darn it, doesn't this look nice? So when we pull the last piece, the fabric, over here, it doesn't get torn by the horrible abrasiveness of that wire. It's going to be padded and lovely.
Yeah,
then,
there we go.
Now we've established tacks at both ends, and just as before,
Look,
remember...
You can see what's going to be happening.
Remember the order. We pull up from the center, and we put a tack.
1/2 inch.
1/2 inch from the top.
From the wood.
From the edge of that wood.
And
there we go.
Now that we're getting into this and then the fabric, you start taking your time.
Got to take my time. Hey,
right.
Good idea. Now,
A
we're
little
not
at a
going to...
time, just a little at a time.
A little at a time?
Right.
A little at a time.
I tell you that all the time.
All the time, a little at a time.
All the time.
All the time. Now, we're not going to put our tacks cheek by jowl
No, no.
over here, because if we do, we're going to get an indentation, and then when we pull the fabric around, somebody's going to say, what is this, a little river?
And that'll happen all the time.
All the time. What is this, kind of a theme thing? So, a couple of inches apart, pulling up, making sure that...
You're pulling, I'm rolling.
Yeah, you're rolling, you're pulling. Half-inch away from the
This
top.
feels good here.
Don't talk to me about such things. Remember, in upholstery, as in almost everything else in life, you can make mistakes if you know how to correct them. We're going to pad the inside. Right here, we have a little bit of a valley, so we're going to pad a little bit extra here. We're going to put a half moon of cotton, which is F. Scott Fitzgerald early work. Half moon of cotton right in here, then another half moon of cotton, and then a full length of cotton, and then a full length of cotton over that. Not unlike the kind of program that we followed with the seat. I've got a general small piece of cotton here that we will rip.
General cotton.
General cotton. I'm going to lay it in here.
Lay it in there.
Now I'll even it up on the bottom where I feel it needs to be evened up.
Even it up.
And even it up. And I'll begin to feel where I think the indentation is.
Crumple up a newspaper, add a little paint, and wood gets a brand new look. That's next as